First question was, how often should you practice? Well, you're asking a yogi, so for a beginner, honestly, just showing up on the mat for, 15 to 30 minutes every other day, every few days is good. It's about getting some form of ritual or practice in. If you ask me, or what I would tell people when they came into the studio, if you do yoga once a week, you're probably working on what you've done to your mind and body over the last month. If you do yoga twice a week, you're probably working on what you've done to your mind and body over the past year. If you do yoga 3 times a week, you're probably working on what you've done to your mind and body over your life. So I would say minimum 3 times a week is ritualistic. I am starting to realize that if I want to do a YouTube channel, that I need to condense my classes to about 20 to 30 minutes, because at home practice is more difficult than doing an hour and a half practice in studio with someone. Which brings me to the next question was, why is it so hard to be disciplined and consistent, especially with this yoga practice? I would say that, going back to my last answer about how you're actually working on your mind and body, the mind aspect of it, when you become very ritualistic about practicing yoga, then all the other stuff besides like the yoga poses starts to happen for you. You learn, your mind starts to drop into natural meditation. You also yoga begins to work on you, and sometimes that's accosting. Sometimes, I've often said that this yoga mat is a mirror. It's just simply reflecting back what you need reflected at you. So we get into the practice and then we don't realize like the things that it's stirring up, the things that it's changing internally. And then we kind of back away from it, not realizing that it's actually creating a neurological change. And that's hard, when you're in your practice, especially when you're really becoming a yogi, right? Not doing Cirque du Soleil, but becoming a yogi. There's a moment when like all your stuff starts to drop away and you start to see as the observer. And when you do that in the beginning, it's uncomfortable. It starts to make reactions and stuff with that within your life, because you're starting to see patterns of thoughts and behaviors that no longer serve you in those moments. And it really creates, it's kind of like, it creates a challenge for you mentally that you're not realizing. So what I would say to get a consistent practice, all right, so mentally we're just like trying to avoid our shit, right? But to get a practice would be just showing up. So sometimes yoga is just butt on mat. Literally putting your ass on the mat. And if you can do that, even to do some cat-cows, to focus on your breath, to just be in this space for a moment, that is yoga. People envision yoga as a physical practice. Like I said, it's the mental that either keeps you coming to it or pushes you away from it. It's just the truth. So show up. 5 minutes. Set a timer, right? My most difficult times in life as an instructor, you teach so much sometimes that your practice lags. It's just the reality. And when I'm doing that, whenever I do like my little 30-day challenge for myself to get back on schedule, which is another thing you can do, it's just like 30 days. Every day for 30 days, I'm going to get on the mat somehow. And that's my rule. But on mat, 5 minutes. All of us can do 5 minutes. The 5 minutes usually ends up turning into 10, 15, whatever. So that would be the thing. 30 days, accepting that 10 minutes sometimes is where you're at, and consistency, right? And not beating yourself up on the days that you didn't show up on the mat, because you know, it's about getting on there. All right. And then I had another question. And by the way, Maria, I'm just going to laugh at this one too. So being vegan, vegetarian, or not, being a yogi and being able to practice inversions. All right. So I am the arm balance girl in my area, right? So I've practiced arm balances for a number of years, and I've only been a vegetarian for a couple years out of my life, and I've never been a vegan. If you're a vegan, much love to you if that's what you want to do. This is your one moment from your first inhale to your last exhale, right? So you get to choose what you're doing with it, right? Does it affect your inversions? Well, if you think it does, it does. Yeah. Right? So whatever you think is, right? No, it doesn't. You can do arm balances and inversions if you eat meat, and you don't I haven't been a vegetarian for years. I still do. I'm not knocking vegetarianism. I've been there, done that one, got the t-shirt. It's all about how you want to be in this world. The next question that I got was how to step through. So this is a big deal with people. And so I'm going to back this thing up for a minute. I'm going to back this up just so you can kind of see my mat, so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's this thing where we're in yoga and we are in down dog, and we'll take the leg and we'll swing it through and step, right? And the goal is to get your knee over your heel, your shin, nice and perpendicular, right? Well, what happens is a lot of times people, when they try to do that, it stops here, right? There's a couple things going on. One is you're not exhaling fully when you step through. You should step at the very end of the exhale. Also, if you look at the length of your shin and your arm, it's a very close to the same length. I mean, I don't have much space here, right? Not much at all. So you actually, that's why you have to exhale everything out, but you have to really pull this knee in. And so I would suggest taking the leg up, pulling this knee in, and then letting it step. See how I'm almost in a cat stretch? Since I have all my breath out, that foot comes up more, right? And then when I bend the knee, I can come into the posture. So what if that's not a situation for you? You can step the foot here and then wiggle your other foot back so that you're in this nice upright perpendicular shin, not breaking your knee, right? Or you can grab it and pull it up, right? And so if you're stepping back, you just have to reset on your mat, because eventually you'll be like on the person's mat behind you because you'll have wiggled back and wiggled back. Another, if you are helping the foot swing forward, just make sure you have your opposing hand. So the foot stopped here. I have this opposing hand really strong so that I pull it forward. You know, also put your hands on blocks to bring it through, but that's kind of cumbersome and chunky whenever you're trying to do a flow. So those are some answers to some questions that I got. If you have any more questions, ask the yogi. I don't know, if you have a better name for this like little segment, please let me know. I'm struggling here. So if you have any more questions, put it in the comments below. I will also, if you didn't get to see this whole thing, I will upload it to our Facebook, our YouTube, all that. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go there. It's Flip Your Dog Yoga Center videos. I'll also put the link in the comments below. We get 1,000 subscribers, YouTube will pay us to teach you yoga for free. It's a win-win for everybody, right? So we have like over 260 videos on the channel, everything from no flow to restorative, some power classes, some tutorials, some workshops. Those are all on our YouTube channel. Thanks, guys. Put your questions down below, and I'll do another Q&A real soon.